Welcome to the season finale of Extra Politics. If you didn't catch the previous episode, you might want to check that one out first. It's going to be very relevant. In 1935, the University of Kentucky and NYU played a game of basketball. Due to some issues with the referees, this game got especially physical. And because of this, the best player in the country at the time, Leroy Edwards, was held to just 6 points, the lowest total of his entire career. Sports writers wrote that if this trend continued, basketball would cease to be a game of skill and devolve into something totally different, a physical, brutish fight. Hockey, basically. They needed to fix this exploit if the designer's intent for basketball was to be preserved. And so, they did. They patched the game of basketball by adding the 3-second rule, which forbid players from standing under the basket in their opponent's lane for longer than 3 seconds, and significantly limited the physical nature of under-the-basket play. This saved the game of basketball from structural collapse. The patch worked. So, can we patch the game of US politics? Is it even possible to do so when the original game designers are all dead and today's extremely agenda-driven players are the ones in charge of patching the rules? Well, let's talk about it. Spectator sports are probably the closest gaming analogy we have to politics. When a sport gets patched, a lot of the time it's intended to fix some sort of collapse, but just as often it's done for another reason, to keep the spectators happy. When they added the 3-point shot to basketball and the 2-point conversion to pro football, it wasn't because those games were broken. It was to make the games better for spectators. It made it more fun to watch. In the first episode of this series, I said that in politics, we citizens and our votes act as victory points during elections. But that's not all we are. We are also this game's spectators. And this is especially true during non-election times. Even when our side loses, our trust in the fairness of this system is critical. Governmental systems that don't create that trust tend to have a lot of revolutionary problems. So, to keep things running smoothly, it is essential that this game be patched for the spectators' benefit. But who's going to patch it? The Rules Writing Committee for Sports is a mix of players, owners, and referees. And that works pretty well because all of those folks are gonna lose money if the game stops being enjoyable for spectators. What's more, those committees also represent a lot of teams, with no one team having more pull than another. It's possible that some change to the rules might happen to be particularly bad for one team, but if it's great for the league as a whole, that one team's gonna be outvoted. Sadly, our political rules writing committee is composed exclusively of the game's players, so there's going to be strong resistance to any change that takes structural power away from those players. And unlike professional sports, there are only 2 teams in our current political system, and they never hold an equal amount of power, so there's also going to be strong resistance to any change that's bad for the party currently in power. To complicate things even further, there's almost never just one game going on at a time. After all, each issue, bill, election, inter-party power struggle, and fundraising event is sort of like its own minigame. All of them are deeply connected. There's always at least a few happening, and we're asking the Rules Committee to update the rules while many of those games are currently in progress, something that a real sport never has to deal with. But don't lose hope. Just like in sports, spectators have influence, and it's all about gaining leverage. In sports, fans gain leverage with their dollars. Nice and simple. In politics, fans gain leverage with support, which includes dollars, but also votes and volunteering. And here's the big challenge ahead of us as spectators, basically what this whole series has been building toward. To become the spectators that this game desperately needs in order to thrive, we have to put our team loyalty aside for the good of the game. We need to be willing to accept changes that are good for the system even if they temporarily disadvantage our team. And we need to be willing to work and compromise with people from the other team. When the game designer hat goes on, the player hat must come off. Patriotism isn't wearing a flag pin. It's being willing to give something up for the good of the country. And if our rules committee won't do it, then it's our job. Here is an outline on how we can do that. Step 1, isolate the exploit. We have to find the specific broken elements in the design in order to fix them. If Congress does something that you don't like, but it is within the designer's intent, maybe they imposed some regulation, or they raised taxes, or they declared a war that you're not on board with, but they did do it through the standard congressional processes. That's not an exploit, that's just your team losing. And the nice thing is that you can fight that by working within the system that exists now. But what if bankers are promising current members of Congress high-paying jobs after their terms are over in exchange for passing more favorable banking laws? Our political systems designers never intended for the promise of future jobs to be something that would influence the game of passing laws. That is an exploit that needs patching. Step 2, learn more. If you're going to change the game's rules, you need to understand the game, and not just at the basic player level, but as a game designer. Knowing that a particular map strongly favors one Counter-Strike team over the other is one thing. Actually designing fair and interesting maps for Counter-Strike requires another level of knowledge entirely. Step 3, figure out where to patch. Simple exploits can be patched with basic regulations, which is just the catch-all term for when a group of experts are granted the power to write rules through some binding mechanism. For larger issues that need patching, regulations may not be enough. That might take getting a law passed through Congress, which has a lot more authority when it comes to changing rules. And for the really big issues, you're probably looking at a full-blown constitutional patch, either a Supreme Court ruling or an amendment to the Constitution. Step 4, create the patch. Find a few like-minded people to create a general design doc for the patch. And again, this should be done in a way that ignores your team loyalties and player mentality to embrace what's best for the game. Step 5, find like-minded patriots. It takes a lot of spectators to convince the rules writing committee to do something, so go find some. Gather support from everybody, no matter their team. You may disagree with these people on all sorts of stuff. Gun control, educational policy, healthcare spending, that's fine. In fact, it's better. Remember, this is about being a game designer. It has to be about the game structure, not the team objective. And that bit is important because people are almost certainly going to try to attach your movement to one of the two political parties. It's just the way our hyper-partisan world tends to frame these things. This is why it's so critical to work with folks from the other team as you move forward. Step 6, apply pressure persistently, both in and out of election cycles. This work is hard and it takes time. You have to stay just as engaged even when the bright lights of campaign season aren't on. In fact, many believe that the work done outside of campaign season is actually more effective. Nobody said being a game designer was easy. Step 7, be prepared to compromise on anything but the designer's intent. Every patch has winners and losers. Your patch might be a great one, but be ready to accept one that is a bit different than you envisioned. Compromise is a dirty word for some, and in politics it can be dirtier still. But compromise is what democracy is all about. If you're gonna get anywhere, you have to make it easy for somebody on the rules committee to vote against what they perceive to be their own personal interest. Let's wrap things up with an example. Let's say we want to fix the largest broken thing in our system, gerrymandering. I mean, hey, go big, right? Step 1, we isolate the source of the problem, which is gerrymandering congressional districts. Step 2, we learn more. We find experts, we read, and we study. Step 3, we figure out where to patch. Gerrymandering's a pretty big issue, so we're probably talking Constitution level. We're gonna need the Supreme Court on this one. Step 4, we create a patch. An amendment that takes the ability to gerrymander away from political parties, adds proportionality, and puts redistricting duties in an independent party's hands, maybe even a computer program's. Step 5, we find like-minded patriots. Not just our friends on the internet, but also allies within the system, from both parties if possible. We're gonna need them. Step 6, we apply pressure. Get voters across the country to bring the issue up at town halls and in newspaper articles. Create a clever logo and name for the program. Make bumper stickers. And step 7, we compromise. To get the committee to vote against their own personal interest, maybe we take a pointer from Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution and agree that the new amendment won't take effect for 19 years, at which point most of the people on the rules writing committee will be gone, so it won't sting them as much. We also agree to a district-generating program that makes things way more random than we originally had in mind. It'll break up those obvious cultural districts sometimes, which kinda sucks, but if that's what we gotta trade to patch this thing, so be it. See how easy it is? Okay, it's not all that easy, but in fairness, I did just pick what is probably the largest exploit currently existing in our political system. I think you'll find the smaller exploits are a lot simpler. I very much hope that you have enjoyed this series, and I want to give a special thanks to Luke Peterschmidt for writing all this, and to Joe Maslov for doing all this great art. Thanks for watching, everybody. Let's patch this game.